Hi guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. I'm going to partly give you an overview and partly read through around the first half of this article. I'm going to skip the second half because the second half presents details concerning the defense and whether or not the defense laid out by the defense attorney has any truth to it, or whether or not it makes sense. I'm not in a position to make that declaration, and I don't really want to go through those details out of respect to the victim concerned and the victim's family, given that this scumbag has been found guilty. But you may want to read through those details. You may want to see what the defense's argument was, but I'm going to skip that myself with all due respect. There's a link in the description, and I'm going to provide a severe trigger warning. This is about a heinous crime. The rape and murder, strangulation, death of a 6-year-old girl whose name was Ariana Jade Romeo. Her legal name was Ariana, but her nickname was Jade. Ariana Jade Romeo. And we'll go through the first part of the article. A jury found this scumbag Leyland Hust guilty on 2 felony counts in the 2018 rape and strangulation death of a 6-year-old girl from the Rio Rancho area. Hust, 24 years of age, cried after the judge read the verdicts. He could be heard wailing even after he was removed from the courtroom. Jurors found Hust, this scumbag, guilty of child abuse resulting in death, which has a mandatory 30-year prison sentence. He was also found guilty of criminal sexual penetration of a child under the age of 13, which also has a mandatory 18-year sentence. The jury reached its verdict after deliberating for 6 hours, which I believe is a pretty short amount of time, not a great deal of time. So that's a good thing. That would suggest to me that the prosecutors were able to present adequate evidence. However, he did put up a fight, and as I say, this article will go through details about the defense, which I'm not going to cover due to respect to the victim and the victim's family. And I'm just going to go on a bit of a tangent here, just throw my 2 cents in regards to these sentences. So the actual sentencing date will take place at a later date, but mandatory ought to mean mandatory. So I can't think why the mandatory sentences wouldn't apply. And I hope that would mean that he would get a mandatory 30-year prison sentence for one charge, as well as the mandatory 18 years in prison for the other charge. So I hope that would mean 48 years in prison for this man. And I say that with confidence, even though he's got a defense, even though they face a trial and they're able to present a defense, he has been found guilty. I think a 48-year prison sentence would be good. I would say good. Some people may prefer the death penalty. Let me say, I would prefer the death penalty. I would prefer life in jail with no opportunity for parole. However, 48 years, if it is 48 years, with no parole, I would think that is satisfactory, and that's something that the mother has said, that she is satisfied with that. So I do hope that's the case, that those 2 sentences rather, would be concurrent, would be my hope. So back to the article. The article tells us that there were 2 trials that Hust has faced in regards to the rape and strangulation of Ariana Jade Romeo. And that on the first trial, something happened. What was it? I can't remember. I think it tells us a little bit about what happened after the first trial, but apologies for that. Let's get back to the article. District Attorney Barbara Romo and other members of the prosecution team hugged Ariana's mother, Stephanie Romeo, after the verdicts were read. And here's a quote from the district attorney: "I'm happy that Stephanie, the mother, can have some closure and that little Jade can rest in peace. You can't give up on a 6-year-old girl who was brutally raped and murdered." The mother said that she was satisfied with the end result, which came nearly 4 years after her daughter's death in 2018. So the mother has said, "It's been a process and I'm satisfied with the result." And there's a picture of the mother being hugged by the district attorney and another member of the prosecution team. I think it's a nice picture. I mean, to me, I'm no expert in these kind of topics, but it is touching to see closure. I think this would be closure. I think there would be comfort in knowing that the scumbag that did this to your own daughter, your own child, there would be a lot of comfort in knowing that they are going to suffer, that they are not going to be in a position to harm anybody else, that they will be locked up for a very long time, 48 years. Satisfied, I would agree with that. Again, personally, I would go for the death penalty. I would take them out to the back of the shed. Personally, I won't say any more on that, so I don't infringe on YouTube terms of services. But I would I'd happily offer my services for free in such cases, and failing that, I would go for life in prison. Having said that, we know that a lot of sentences don't have those as options, life in prison or a death penalty. So I would think 48 years in jail is satisfactory, would be my feeling. So I'm glad that the mother, it does feel some level of satisfaction with that. And I hope and pray that she, as well as the other family members, are able to, I'm going to use these words, and these may not be the best words to use. If you can think of any better words to express what I'm thinking, let me know. But I just hope that, I think I'm happy that it seems that this lengthy sentence, the fact that the scumbag has been found guilty, is going to allow the mother and the other family members to move on. Of course, I don't mean move on and forget about Ariana Jade. I don't mean that at all. I'm sure she's going to be ever present in the mother's every being for the rest of the mother's life, as well as the other family members. But at the same time, I just hope and pray that the grieving parents in this type of situation in particular are able to recover some semblance of normal life and are able to move on and enjoy their lives to some extent. To shed the constant cloud of grief at some point, or at least have a few rays of sunshine pop through the clouds every now and then. But I'll move on. So a sentence date has not been set as yet. So we're going to read a little bit about what the prosecution argued. But again, I'm not going to read through what the defense argued. This article goes into a fair bit of detail about the defense's argument, but I don't want to go through that out of respect, as I say, to the victim and the victim's family. Prosecutors argued in closing arguments that Hust was obsessed with the girl, living in his house, and had an ideal opportunity to rape and kill the girl. Hust's attorneys responded that investigators overlooked a convicted sex offender who also lived in the household. But as I say, I'm not going to go further into that. Prosecutors told jurors that Hust waited until other members of the household were asleep or absent before he attacked the girl. Assistant District Attorney Neil Carson emphasized the close proximity of Hust's room to the converted garage where Ariana stayed with her mother, who worked at a Rio Rancho brew pub and typically didn't return home until around 3 a.m. Hust's mother was also out of the house at the time of the murder. And the assistant district attorney says that this was a crime of opportunity. Hust knew that he had to act quickly because Ariana's mother had found a new apartment and had immediate plans to move. Hust knew that Jade was moving out in a matter of days, and he took his opportunity. So I'm going to wrap things up at that point. There are a few further details in regards to the incident. It let us know that the mother came home and she went to bed with Ariana Jade, and it wasn't until the morning that the mother realized that the girl was dead. Which, of course, must be the most horrifying thing. The most horrifying moment. Oh my gosh, that would just rip your every being to shreds. I'm going to wrap things up here. Condolences to the family concerned, the mother, of course. I'm glad that the mother is seemingly, it looks like, I pray that she does get the comfort that she needs, as well as the other family, so that they can move on. And again, the term move on doesn't quite express what I mean. If there's a better term, please let me know. But ultimately, move on. In no way forget Ariana Jade. They wouldn't be able to if they tried. But just to allow themselves to live life, have enjoyment and happiness to some level within their life, some rays of light. It seems wrong to live in the cloud of grief for the rest of one's life. But as far as I understand, that is how it often or almost inevitably is for those that have lost their own children, especially those that have lost children in such a horrific way. So I'm going to wrap things up here. Condolences to the family. I'm glad the scumbag is jailed. Let's hope it is for 48 years or more. Let's hope there's no parole. And I'm going to mention, if you do like this type of content, please do like, comment, subscribe, give me some encouragement. My aim is to make multiple videos every day. I know I'm waffling a little bit more than I used to in these. Maybe you like that, maybe you don't. I'll have to check my analytics, but let me know. I love the fact that we're getting a lot of comments in the chat. You guys are having conversations. I love that. It feels like we have the opportunity to have a little bit of a community brewing, and I will try to do what I can to encourage that, to foster a little place on YouTube where people can come and hopefully, discuss these kind of issues to some extent, or discuss, or even consume, even just listening, however it works for you guys. But I'll wrap things up here. Thank you very much for listening and watching.